like I mentioned before, coming from a more rigid work environment, when I applied to work here, I was like very drawn by the application questions, and I had to draw an octopus fighting a pirate. Like, who puts that in a job application?
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm like, wow, this must be like the chillest job ever. It's going to be really lax, really fun. And that's not true. This is actually the hardest job I've ever had. And it's hard because I'm consistently challenged every single day to just get better and better and better. And even when I put out what I think is my best work, people aren't afraid to give feedback and like help each other improve constantly. So there's always room for growth here, always room for improvement. And I've never had that in the past. They were not just sipping margaritas all day. Like people here where we do really hard work.
Welcome to the Culture Goodr podcast with Stephen Leese and Shaun. This podcast is a behind the shades look at creating and changing culture inside of Goodr sunglasses. You can live with the status quo, you can challenge the status quo, or you can do what we do at Goodr and status the quo challenge.
Welcome everyone to a special episode on what it's like to work at Goodr. We're going to speak to two employees, one recent hire and then one who's been around for a little while. First, joining me, I have Allie. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'd like to kick this off with a lightning round. You ready?
I'm ready.
Cool. How long have you been at Goodr?
4 months.
4 months. What was your onboarding class called?
Team Meatball. Woo woo.
Team Meatball. Shout out. How many people started at the same time as you?
7, including me.
7, including you. And have you changed roles since you started?
No.
Nope. It's only been 4 months. That would be incredible. What's your favorite thing about working at Goodr?
All of the people and just all of the connections that we have and just the amount of support that I feel working here. It's really lovely.
Awesome. Speaking of connections, like right away, one of the things you have to do or get to do, depending on how you think about it, is connect with absolutely everyone in the company.
Yes.
What did you learn in the process of going through that?
I was actually like really nervous when we got assigned that. And then it was probably the best thing that ever happened because you got to learn about like everyone in their role. And I'd be like, who are you? What can I bother you for? Like, I took it as like, how, like, you know, how can I really learn what they do and how can that help me?
Yeah.
And it was just like great to connect with people because I don't get to talk to some people in some other herds and stuff.
Oh, for sure. And that's that way across the board, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. So what was your first day at Goodr like?
Oh man. So I was really nervous. But really excited. And we all gathered around. We got a tour of the office. And then kind of it was just like basic learning about onboarding, PTO, time off, what kind of like how we run things, learning about all the sunglasses. We had lunch together as a team. And then at the end of the day, we got to play a Miss Pac-Man tournament.
How'd you do?
Not very good.
Not good?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, many of us are not practicing Miss Pac-Man in the background at all times.
True. I was like, okay. I think I made it to the second round.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good. Good showing.
Yeah. Solid.
So how does working at Goodr differ from other places you've worked?
Well, okay. So I think that I could talk about this for forever, but to me, since I am new, I'm really just going to focus on onboarding. And every other company I've ever been at, onboarding is either 1 day or 1 hour. And at Goodr, it's legit 3 months. And something that was so incredible is that, you were my flock leader when I first started.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in a meeting with like you and Savannah, and I don't know what we were talking about, but I was like, oh, I'm going to look up like couch reupholstery cleaning. And both of you guys just looked at me and you're like, stop it. Just stop working. Just focus on everything. You're drinking through a fire hose. Learn about your Enneagram. Learn about all of our crazy acronyms and everything. And just really like taking the time to focus and like figure out who you are at Goodr before like you jump into your role. And like I legit didn't start doing any work until like I think week 3.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. And I just love that like that kind of support. So for me, it's like definitely like the onboarding process.
Awesome. And then how about like expectations versus reality, whatever you were thinking coming in here versus what you found as you started your role?
Yeah. So for my role specifically, like I'm the office manager. There's just one of me running this place. And I think like at previous jobs, I was more used to having everything like be a bit more like corporate. Like I was dealing with like the building management and kind of like, I was really spoiled in the fact that like there was a portal and I could go in and be like, the toilet's broken on the 7th floor. And coming in here, like that's just not how this building is run, like we're really, really hands-on. And I think that like kind of exemplifies goodr as a whole. Like we're extremely hands-on. And also like, we can do anything. Like there's like no is not a word here.
Right. Yeah, just figure out what it would take and then pitch maybe good, better, best solutions.
Yeah, exactly. And I think just like learning, just kind of getting on that learning curve and like just kind of like breaking the mold of your brain of like what you were used to. And that like that does take a minute. And I think that's also why onboarding is so long.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so you've just completed it, yeah?
Yeah.
Even though we think of it as like maybe your first year, you're probably onboarding.
Wait, actually, I don't know if I have completed
officially,
it.
You're in the flow.
I'm in the flow, yeah.
What are you enjoying most, or what have you enjoyed most about onboarding so far?
Oh man. So honestly, I just thought it was so amazing that I had like a team to do it with. Like it wasn't just me by myself.
Yeah.
And I think that was so nice that I had my fellow meatballs and we were all in it together because it is a lot of information. It is a bit overwhelming. I've never been at a job where they're like, you're definitely going to have, what's the word? Imposter syndrome.
Oh, yes.
You're definitely going to have imposter syndrome and you're definitely going to feel overwhelmed. And why am I here? And it's like, no, I deserve to be here. I went through that month-long interview process and I like kicked ass at all this stuff.
Role.
I did. And so, but it's like so nice to like have that with a team and just like learning about like everything that we do here and our culture and like the Enneagrams and all that stuff.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So Allie, what does your day-to-day look like here?
Oh man. So my day-to-day is different than everyone else's. I come in 5 days a week as compared to most people that only come in 2 days or they're required to come in 2 days. So I deal with like all outside vendors. I'm always just kind of putting out fires, policing the space, trying to make this office like the best place it can be. It's already pretty great, but just already, giving her a little facelift, if we will.
Yeah.
And what else am I doing? A lot of snacks, a lot of working with the GC, a lot of like dealing with our property manager sometimes and things like that. Hold on.
Making sure everyone gets lunch on Tuesdays.
Yeah, making sure everyone gets lunch on Tuesdays and refilling the snacks and just like making sure all the equipment is working right and just like a little bit of everything. And then obviously like emails and Slacks and what am I not doing is a better question.
That's so many things.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Just spinning a lot of plates. Shaun, try not to drop them ever.
Yeah, and just like making sure that everyone has like the best experience here at the company and just like planning a lot of fun events and like making sure that everyone's having like the best time that they can at the office.
Yeah. Well, it seems like they are, and you're doing an excellent job supporting us in that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So what do you like best about working at goodr?
I love like all the fun events that we have. Like, we get food trucks and like goodr stock is so fun. And like all the I love like TWC and now TWC Plus and then like our monthly lunch connections. And I do love all the people. This is like such an extremely supportive environment. Even when I was onboarding, like every connection I had, it always started with, how are you doing? Are you acclimating okay? And I just think that is incredible. And also just like this place really pushes you to get out of your comfort zone. I was so nervous to get on stage and like speak in front of like over 100 people. And you got to get over that very quickly. And I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, that happens on day one. Everyone gets up and says their name, role, spirit animal. Yeah.
Yeah.
That must have been a blur, huh?
It was, yeah. I blacked out.
Yeah, you just gotta, what just happened?
Yeah, no, it's great though.
Yeah. How about something challenging about working here?
Oh man, definitely that like how fast this place moves and how some like just the big crazy projects we have. Like it's almost like hard to explain, like ordering like posters and stickers and, like just something hanging an axe and a bell and, working on like crazy fun, like signage and just like, does it come in our color, pink and teal and like just things like that. And then honestly, just also like learning everyone's roles for me was really hard and all of the different like flocks and herds and like what each person does, like that really took a minute to kick in.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, the ecosystem is huge. It's always changing. It seems like every few months there's like 10 new people.
Yeah, exactly. And like, as they said on the first day, the only constant in goodr is change. And that's 100% true.
Yes, accurate.
Yeah.
So if you could go back and it's only 4 months, but give advice to that version of yourself who was starting at goodr, what would you say?
I would say just be more confident. Like come in here, like you deserved this role and you got it. And just like come in here and like it's going to be really hard. You're going to like face some challenges, but just like be the strong, confident woman that you are and like run with it and know that you're going to make mistakes, and always like more information is better than no information.
Yes. Important.
Yes.
I've learned that a few times myself.
Yes.
What do you think the 3 most important skills are to thrive at goodr?
Receiving and giving feedback, problem solving, and communication. And just, as I said before, always knowing that there's a way. Like if there's a wall, we'll always find a way to go around it, through it, under it. Like just having that mindset, like no is not an answer.
Yeah, it's more like, what would it take?
Yeah, what would it take?
So what's something you've learned about yourself since you started working here?
Oh man. I feel like I do love that like one of our main pillars is like authenticity. And I think that is like, you got to stay true to yourself. And so I just like realized that even more working here. And I'm capable of a lot more than I thought I was. Like I do a lot of different things. There's a lot of things on my plate, and working with so many different vendors, like in the office, outside the office, and just knowing, like just being confident that like I can handle it.
Yeah.
And I think just like embracing the fact that like you are going to fuck up, but like knowing that you're going to grow. And I don't know, I just feel like I've grown a lot in like these 4 months.
That's awesome. Well, there's even more ahead.
I know. Watch out, world.
Yeah, right. Look out. I think one of the things that has occurred to me is like there's fitting in at goodr doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to bring forward more of who you truly are.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like it's kind of like we were talking about earlier today about like the Enneagrams. I really think like I might be leaning like more into like my 8 because like this place does need to be like run in a tight ship. It's like I'm like quote unquote managing like 130 people.
Yeah.
And I think it's like you got to be like strong-willed, and it's like I'm really like tapping into that side of me where there is like a passive side of me, and I'm like kind of letting her die a little bit.
She's just taking a rest.
She's taking a nap. So I think that's like also just how I've grown, is like just being more assertive, but in like a nice, friendly way.
Yeah, nice. So in the 4 months you've been here, what's changed since you started?
I am on a new flock. So I'm still in the people herd. You were my manager when I first started.
Yep.
Shout out to Shaun. But now I'm on the Guardians, and I was like really nervous because like you were kind of like my security blanket. Like I interviewed with you and like I onboarded with you and like so much. But honestly, I feel like ever since I changed to Guardians, like my role has just like clicked into place and has made so much more sense. And that's not like a stab at goodr. You guys are incredible, but we'd be in meetings together and you guys would be talking about like all this incredible things. And I'm like, okay, so we're going to get some new plants in. And like, I was just like, this doesn't like fit in a sense. And so that's like what's changed, but I'm still so grateful we're on the same herd.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, that speaks to the only constant is change, right? You joined the Ministry of Culture, which was about all things experience goodr. So managing, what it feels like to work here. And so at that time, we were just kind of shifting into like, well, it feels like we actually might be more learning and development focused, which means that office management doesn't really quite sit there. So I appreciate your willingness to sit through that change with us. And then I'm happy to hear that the shift toward the Guardians, where it really is managing goodr experience now, is like, that makes sense and it feels right.
Yeah, exactly. Cause it's like, I'm managing the office and like we, put on all these like fun events for everyone. And like, I'm like a big part of like working with vendors and like timing, and, like being at the office. So like, it really just like was truly like a better fit. And it was just like such an easy transition. I'm like, oh yeah, I should have always been here. But like, exactly. Like sometimes you have to go through that to learn. I think you guys realized that like after the first PDA.
Oh, yeah. Like it was in real time for us. We're like, I think learning and development is our focus. What does that mean? And how do we have to shift as a result?
And that's okay. And that's just like, you know what, this is what happened. And I think even like I was supposed to go over in March and you're like, JK, it's going to be this week. And like,
it's happening now.
No. And it's like, it needed to happen now because we have so much stuff going on. And it really, truly like made sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Amazing.
So looking ahead, what are you most excited about?
Oh man, just like, well, I'm really excited about like the office makeover and just working on all of that and just like making this place the best place it can be, and just experiencing my second goodr stock and like probably having my hands in that even more.
Oh yeah.
And just like all the fun, awesome experiences we bring to our employees. Like no other company does that. Like, yeah, they have like parties and stuff, but like our parties are so beyond. And also like just all the squawk talks. Like I'm so grateful that we have all these incredible people coming in and like so privileged to like listen and to them for like an hour, and like how incredible. I've like half these people I'm like, oh, I've heard of them or I haven't. And it's like, you just like get to learn more about them and then like almost learn more about yourself. And so I'm just so excited for the year to come.
Yeah, cool. So you're getting more involved in the event side of things too, huh?
Yeah, just like more. I mean, I think that'll always be like Hansy's baby, but you know, just like some small things here and there, and then doing like TWC plus and just really like kind of like leveling up our culture and like events and like making this an even more like badass place to work.
Yeah, cool. Well, you are definitely succeeding in that regard.
Thank you.
On the TWC plus side, just because I think that's so cool, can you talk about what that is and how you shift things?
Yes. So TWC is like our regular all hands meeting. And then TWC plus is like celebrating the work and the results. And so it's like whenever we have these launches, you know, for like farmers market or sports ball, we are they're kind of going to be like themed and then with some surprises. So like you don't really know what's coming until like the week of or like the week before. So that's just something so fun that we get to experience like what we're doing. Yeah, we're celebrating like all the hard work that we put into all these like launches. And I'm so amped to be a part of that because I'm not like on the design or product team, but I get to be part of like the party side.
Yeah, totally. Like when we launched the Snow G goggle, everything was all snow themed and, you know,
exactly.
Like everybody gets a pair and it all kind of flowed super cool in a super cool way. It was really neat to see.
Yeah, I didn't have anything to do with that one yet, but they're all going to be like that. And it's just, they're almost like little baby goodr stocks. That's how I'm looking at them. So, and it's just like one more awesome thing that we can all do and like connect. And it's like how hilarious, like all the outfits we're going to make everyone wear and just like everything's going to be really themed up and it's going to be great. And it's like just how hilarious and just, you know, that we can like all connect over this thing that we all did together.
For sure. For sure. Cool. Well, so last question before we get you out of here. Has working at goodr changed anything about you as a person or your life in general?
I have more sunglasses than I know what to do with, and all of my friends and family are benefiting from that. So thank you, Steven. But besides that, I mean, definitely like, oh yeah, my organizational skills are really leveled up, like Asana and Todoist. You know, I knew about Asana and like used it a little bit, but like not at the level that we use it here. And I just feel like my organizational skills are like, I thought I was organized before, but like, that was a joke. And just really like that's leveled up. And then I don't know, this place like makes you want to be better at work and outside of work. And so I'm hoping like I'm always going to be growing. So we'll see what the next year looks like. So
awesome. Yeah,
I guess I've changed for the better.
Well, I'm so happy that you were here to share your perspective with us on the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Amazing to have been your flock leader for just a brief moment, but it's so fun to see you going and growing on another team.
Oh, thanks, Shaun. You're the best.
I think you're the best. Fist bump. Boop. All right. Welcome back to part 2 of our episode interviewing goodr employees. I have here with me Karla, who has been with goodr for a while now. How long have you been with us?
I believe it's about a year and 11 months. So coming up on 2 years.
All right.
This April.
Which in goodr years is like 14 years.
Feels like forever.
Yeah. Exactly. What was your onboarding class called?
So when I started at goodr, we didn't have fun names for the onboarding classes yet.
See.
That's kind of a new thing, I think. But we were class of 2021, part 3. So,
so
we were the
but not a
third.
fun name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're the third hired class in the year 2021.
Yeah. How many people joined along with you?
So we were 5 people in total, including myself. Pretty small onboarding class.
Small but mighty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And has your role changed at all since you joined?
It has. So when I was hired here in April 2021, I started as a social media project manager. And since then, I have moved to a new role of the Energy Herd project leader, which in lame terms would be the marketing project manager.
All right. So did you change teams at all or?
I sort of did. I'm still in the same department as when I started here, but now instead of kind of living on a singular flock, I work with all 3 flocks within my herd. So I'm kind of a loner who floats around in the middle.
But you just get to be friends with everyone.
But I get to work with everyone, so I love it. Yeah.
Nice. That's great. And what do you like best about working at goodr?
I would have to say that's a very tough question for me because I really do love so many aspects of this job. But it has to be the people here. I've never worked before with such a large group of extremely like talented and smart individuals in every capacity. And like every day here, I learn something new about a coworker, whether it's that they're a professional skydiver outside of work or something crazy like that. Like just amazing humans, and everybody here is like so good at what they do. So it's great.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So it's been a couple years, but if you can transport yourself back to your first day at goodr, what was that like for you?
Okay. I actually do remember quite vividly. My first day was April 19th, 2021. And it was kind of in the midst of the pandemic still. So I arrived at the lagoon, and it was much less decorated and elaborate as it is today. It was kind of a bare bones building. And it was me and this class of 5 people. We all had masks on, and we were all social distancing. So we were all sitting at like separate tables, more than 6 feet apart in over in the nest. So we're like weirdly like wanting to meet each other, but still keeping distance. And then I just remember Nicole had her mask on as well and was trying to like project through her mask and give us all a presentation. So it was a little rough. And we were only in the office for 1 week. So after that, we went back to a fully remote working environment until goodr finally deemed it kind of safe to come back in office into our normal hybrid.
So that was
schedule.
like September, I think, of that same year.
So from April to September was the remote period, with the exception of the first week for me.
Yeah.
So,
well, because normally everyone's in office for their first 30 days, right?
Right. We definitely dodged that a little bit, but at the same time, I do envy that experience now because I'm seeing how the onboarding process has changed so much in just under 2 years, and I'm like a little jealous. I'm like, they got to do so much cool stuff.
I know. I thought that too. Maybe we should like re-onboard ourselves later.
I've heard people just say that as a joke. Like,
screw it, we'll do it.
Like redo our onboarding.
Yeah. So how does working at goodr differ from other places you've worked?
Well, the cliche answer that's still, I think it's a cliche because it's true, is that, goodr allows you to be unabashedly yourself. But yeah, there's always been like work Karla and home Karla or friends Karla. And here I feel pretty comfortable just like being myself. And I do feel like I treat most coworkers as they are my friends. And so I just feel a lot more comfortable in this environment. And it also differs in the sense that goodr, I think, does things very non-traditionally from a standard company. And coming from my past work experience, won't go too into detail, but I did work at like an insurance company of sorts before this. So it was a very rigid environment, kind of a cubicle life. And there wasn't a lot of room for creativity or contribution or ideas. It was kind of like, this is the way things are done. They've always been done this way. That won't change. That's kind of the attitude that I've seen in past work environments. And that's totally opposite to the thought process here.
Right.
Here it's like, great, we just changed something. Let's change it again because it can still improve, constant change, constant improvement.
Yeah, for sure. Challenging the status quo is literally one of our fundamentals.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
It's unavoidable.
And it's really 100% true. We definitely live into that.
Yeah, for sure. So how about like expectations versus reality when you first came on, or even as your role has continued to evolve?
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, coming from a more rigid work environment, when I applied to work here, I was like very drawn by the application questions, and I had to draw an octopus fighting a pirate. Like, who puts that in a job application? So in my mind, I'm like, wow, this must be like the chillest job ever. It's going to be really lax, really fun. And that's not true. This is actually the hardest job I've ever had. And it's hard because I'm consistently challenged every single day to just get better and better and better. And even when I put out what I think is my best work, people aren't afraid to give feedback and like help each other improve constantly. So there's always room for growth here, always room for improvement. And I've never had that in the past. It's not like, and like we say, we're not just sipping margaritas all day. Like people here where we do really hard work.
Yeah, for sure. So what has that been like for you, getting into from a place where it's like everything is more or less the same and, you're not getting a lot of feedback maybe, to like it's always changing and you're constantly getting feedback?
Yeah. I mean, I won't lie. It's tough sometimes. It's part of the rewarding aspect of this job, but also the most challenging. It's like once we get into a routine, to some degree, I'm a project manager, so I do love organization and routine and things like that. So it can be frustrating when I think I'm getting comfortable with something and then, the switch is flipped and we got to reinvent a process because it's not working the way it should, or we need to find a new solution to a problem. So the constant challenge of like having to be creative in problem solving, I think, is what pushes me to be better, and at the same time aggravates me all the time because I'm like, we just changed this. Like, are we changing it again? We're going to change it again. All right, we're going to make it better.
Yeah, right. So you got to kind of like get on board with change faster too.
Exactly. You have to get pretty comfortable with it here. It's the only way to thrive, I think.
For sure. So you kind of touched on it a little bit, but can you give us a sense of what your day-to-day is like?
Yeah. So, like everyone here, we have the hybrid schedule. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I tend to I work from home, so I'll reserve those days for more focused work. I do a weekly review on my Monday mornings to kind of go through, look at my week, what's coming up, what meetings do I need to prepare for, any presentations that I need to put together. And then from there, Wednesday, Friday is also kind of my deep focus time where I'm like blocking off the world. Please don't talk to me. I'm working on a project. And then Tuesday, Thursday are more of the connection points where I'm usually running around the office in meetings most of the day. But I love having the brief interludes where I can like pet somebody's dog in between meetings, or like hang out with a group of coworkers at lunch, or watch a lunchtime talk presentation. So that's usually what it is. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Do you ever get together with your OG class of 21 and
so
class?
I think I'm very bonded with my onboarding class because like you said, we were small but mighty. So there's 4 of us who are still here, and we always get together. Actually, we put together little birthday celebrations when it's one of our birthdays. We've gotten brunch outside of work together. And we call ourselves the class of 21 V3 because that was our onboarding name.
Yeah. Maybe at some point you could come up with something more fun to like re-onboard yourselves.
We might need to rebrand.
Yeah, rebranding. Exactly.
Nice.
We just gave you like the stock.
Yeah. We need to go look at some sunglasses names and pick one for ourselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Team Flamingos on a booze cruise.
So if you could go back to the version of yourself that was just joining goodr, what advice would you offer to that person?
Ooh, she had no idea. My advice would definitely be get comfy with change. Biggest piece of advice, just get really comfortable with change.
Yeah.
Because it's constant here. And the second piece of advice that I would tell myself past me is to get comfortable with giving and receiving feedback, because that's a huge practice at this company that I never experienced before. In fact, I remember at my old job, I went to my boss at one point and was like, I haven't had a review and I've been working here like almost 3 years. I was like, am I doing okay? Is there anything I need to work on? Like no feedback there. So it was tough to know where I was at. And it's quite the opposite here. So we do our AMP reviews. We're constantly getting feedback and praise and all kinds of information to help us, do better. Which I appreciate so much. And I think telling my past self that, be prepared for that, because I'm also, I think, highly critical of myself. And I didn't quite know how to receive or give feedback when I started working here. And that's kind of been a learning curve as I've grown at this company and just getting better. I'm a type 9 on the Enneagram. So
same.
I'm a type 9 on the Enneagram. So I don't love confrontation with others. I love to avoid confrontation. But sometimes that's required in order to be clear and direct with team members and just, get things to where they need to be so that we can all be our best selves at work.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's our core lesson as 9s is conflict. Direct conflict is actually required for true harmony to exist, because then we know that we're included and everyone else has had a chance to speak their piece. And
exactly.
Yeah, it's hard to realize that.
It's tough for us.
First, right? Yeah. So getting comfortable with change and then giving and receiving feedback.
Yeah.
In either of those, anything that you can say for sure that you learned, or you could like mark your height on the wall, so to speak, as you've grown over time?
I would say feedback. I think my feedback practice has gotten really, really strong.
Yeah.
So thus far, always room for improvement, of course. But I do think that when I notice something, instead of past me would have held on to the thought and just ruminated on it for like a week maybe and not ever expressed it directly to the person that I wanted to tell. And current me will think of something, maybe give it like an hour, depending on what it is. And then I'll go directly to that person and be like, hey, just want to let you know, for next time, I think we can improve this and this and this. And yeah, just being more direct about it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, I always thought people will be mad at me if I give them feedback, but that's so not true.
Have they been?
Absolutely not.
No, right?
No one's gotten mad at me. So I've learned to just not freak out about it so much and just be open and direct with people. And they tend to appreciate it and be actually grateful for it.
Yeah. That's a paradox.
Right.
You think, oh, they're going to hate me. Oh, no, they like me more? Great.
Yeah.
Just keep practicing that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what do you think, if you could pick 3 skills, the 3 most important skills to thrive at goodr, what would you say they are?
Ooh, 3 skills. Communication is the biggest one. We communicate constantly here. We use Slack. We use meetings. Like I'm always giving updates on projects and working with teammates. So there's just constant communication back and forth all the time. So if you're not good at that, it can be a hindrance for sure. You need to actively communicate with others. The other one would be agility. That ties into the constant change factor, I think. Just being able to be agile, and as soon as a conflict or a problem comes up that needs to be solved, cool, accept it, and now don't ruminate on the problem, ruminate on how you're going to fix it. So think of the solution and collaborate, ties into the communication, work with others, and find the best path forward.
Yeah.
And thirdly, I would have to say is having a good attitude or a positive attitude. I think that these all go hand in hand because a lot of us can get frustrated when there's a challenge or a problem that arises, which, I mean, that's work. Like that comes up all the time.
Yeah.
And instead of being upset about it, you just have to flip that narrative in your head and just be positive because, you know, shit happens. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, you got it.
But you gotta just have a good attitude and embrace the change with that positive attitude. And amazing things come from that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And it sounds like those are all things that you have developed within yourself personally along the way, yeah?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my attitude has shifted greatly because in past jobs, I was unhappy and I was very much like kind of feeling negative a lot of the time, where it was like, this stinks, I hate this job, don't really see a solution here.
Right.
The solution was to come work at goodr, obviously.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so I think having a positive outlook and mentality all the time, no matter what challenges are being faced and tough projects that I've worked on that have been very difficult sometimes to get through, the attitude is what made it have a successful outcome, I think.
Yeah, and it ends up being ultimately quite rewarding, right? Once you've overcome all
sure.
that resistance. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So you've been here, you said just about 2 years?
Just under,
Almost there.
just under 2 years. It'll be 2 years this April.
Okay. So just give as many things as you can think of, a sense of like what's changed since you started.
Oh my gosh. Pretty much everything. I think, okay, well, the most obvious is our organizational structure, I think. We have, herds didn't exist. When I was hired, I actually started on a team that no longer exists called the Puppet Masters. We were a singular team of like 4 project managers. And now we're split up into these herds or departments. And every department has multiple project managers and not just 4 of us anymore. There's a lot of new roles. There's a lot of new, I think, from an operational standpoint. I feel like when I started, things were being cleaned up quite a lot still. And we had like maybe 2 people doing all our operations. Now we have a full-fledged out team. It's a very robust team. And seeing updates at like mission control meetings or TWC and seeing what all these teams are doing, I'm like, how did we not have those when I started?
Fantastic question.
So it gives me that that kind of overlook at, or gives me like more of a perspective on just how far we've come. A lot of meeting structures have changed. We used to be able to have meetings any day of the week. Now it's consolidated to Tuesday, Thursdays.
I forgot that was pretty recent.
We're creating more space, which is a huge help. And yeah, that is a pretty recent change, but I've seen it make a huge difference in like my routine and my work schedule.
Yeah. I mean, everything you just described, from a weekly review to time blocking for deep focus and then in-person connections, is like, that was something we intentionally shifted so that we could all have that kind of an opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
Before it was like weird blocks of time interrupted every single day by random meetings. And then I would have to be like shifting focus, be like, okay, got to focus now. But then I got to prep for this next meeting. So I only have like 23 minutes and then I have to like go do this other thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then I think also we recently added like, you can only do 50-minute or 25-minute blocks so that there's 5 or 10 minutes between meetings.
That's also a huge help.
Yeah, especially mid-pandemic.
Vacating a room takes a second.
Totally, right? Like we were meeting like up to the minute of the next meeting starting, and then just switching calls into the other meeting.
Right.
Like, okay, sorry, I got.
Yeah, everything. I mean, the biggest change too for me was that the first few months of working here were completely virtual.
Yeah.
So our whole introduction, again, except for that first week. After that, it was like virtual meetings all the time, virtual TWC. And the first time I came into office and had the first Tuesdays with Carl meeting, and I actually distinctly remember seeing you in person for the first time. Because I was like, he's so much taller than he looks on his webcam.
On my screen, because my camera's like way above me.
Yeah, you had it like up here.
Yeah.
So it was really like kind of disorienting, but really interesting to finally like meet all these new coworkers in person. Right? It was a weird experience.
Human form of all the people you've been working with for so long.
Real people. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today. It's been fun to hear all your experiences. Can you just tell us one thing that you're excited about that's coming up for you here?
Well, don't want to give too many spoilers. Actually, this will have launched by the time this episode is live.
Great.
So
time travel. Perfect.
I worked a great deal on the new Flamboyance brand ambassador program. And that launched this February, early March. And so I've been really grateful to work with our PR team and our activations team and welcoming 350 new brand ambassadors. It's a lot of work to put this all together, but it's so rewarding when you see all these people who love our brand so much and just the amazing feedback that we get from them. And it makes it feel like, okay, all the projects, everything we're doing, this is a positive result of that. And look at these fans we have, It's so rewarding to see that.
Yeah.
So it's been great.
Awesome. Well, Karla, thank you so much. It's been awesome having you on. Really appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you, Shaun. Thanks for having me.
Boop.
Thanks for listening to the Culture Goodr podcast. To submit questions for the podcast, learn more about our culture, and learn how you can status the quote challenge, head over to goodr.com/culture. And don't forget to subscribe to us wherever you're listening, including on YouTube, where you can now watch all of our new episodes. Who knows? You might even catch a glimpse of Carl at our headquarters if he's not already passed out at the tiki bar from all the margaritas.